Okay, third video of the day. Hopefully a little shorter than the others, but we'll see how this goes. We need to talk about three important concepts: dictatorship, militarism, and nationalism. Three more of the underlying causes of World War II. Dictatorship's an easy idea. It's when one person controls an entire government. That person has complete control. He's an absolute leader. The term dictator comes from the idea that the person in charge dictates the laws. There's no need to have a legislature getting in the way. They're the dictator. They dictate the law. Their word is law. And we have several great examples of dictators leading up to World War II. We've already mentioned Mussolini in Italy and Hitler in Germany. There's also Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union. He's actually the one who names the country the Soviet Union. We talked about Russia before, overthrowing the Tsar and the communists taking power. The leader of the Communist Party at the time was a guy named Vladimir Lenin. But eventually Lenin dies, and after a power struggle within the Communist Party, Joseph Stalin takes over and becomes the dictator of the Soviet Union. He names it the Soviet Union, and he puts them on a crash course in industrialization, trying to bring them into the 20th century with the other European powers. In some ways, he's far worse a dictator than Mussolini or Hitler. The number of people, Soviet citizens that die under his rule as he basically uses them as slave labor to build the dams and railroads and factories that he needs to make the Soviet Union a powerful and important country, is astronomical. Millions of people are killed by the Russian government, the Soviet government, in order to create that industrialization. In some ways, Stalin makes Hitler look like a schoolboy in levels of cruelty. Important to note, however, that Stalin and the Soviets, communist, dictatorial, totalitarian government, are on our side during the war. They're our ally. And the problem here is they were attacked by Germany. So when the United States enters the war, they're already fighting Germany. They're on the side of England. That they may be communist, and they may be totalitarian, and they may be dictatorial, and run by this monster. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So the Soviets were on our side during World War II. Over in the Far East, in Japan, we've got a different situation. In Japan, there are two rulers. Now, it really is a dictatorship, but we've got the emperor, who's sort of a figurehead. The people adore the emperor. They celebrate his birthday as a national holiday. They see him as the epitome of what it is to be Japanese. They define him as the nation. You know, l'état c'est moi. I am the country. But the emperor is not really in charge. He's just the person people look to. The one who's really running the country is a military leader named Admiral Tojo. Japan is a military dictatorship. Tojo is running everything. Although the people look to the emperor, Tojo's in charge. Now, let's go back to the underlying causes of World War I. And there were four of them, right? Militarism, imperialism, nationalism, and alliances. I put them in the wrong order, sorry. But those haven't really gone away. Remember SpongeBob mowing down the dandelion and it keeps growing back up because he hasn't gotten rid of the roots? Well, the Treaty of Versailles didn't get rid of the problems that caused World War I. Two that are particularly noticeable are militarism and nationalism, and they're very related ideas. Nationalism, the belief that your country is the greatest and most important country in the world, leads to militarism in many ways. But militarism is very important here. It's one of the defining characteristics of fascism, the idea that your military defines your country as great. that building up military weapons is the most important thing your country can do for your future. So Italy and Germany are incredibly militaristic. So is Japan. And the Imperial Japanese government is often lumped together with the fascists. They never claim to be fascist, but their philosophy is very similar to fascism. Soviet Union's incredibly militaristic as well, and this comes out in the aggression we've already talked about. So are some of the democracies. England and France and the United States have a level of militarism as well, and this is causing some of the tension that eventually leads to the war. One more important idea here: nationalism. It ties into all of this. It connects the whole thing together. So we've got 7 underlying causes. If we're going to do our sticks of dynamite as we've done in past wars, you would draw 7 of them, and they would be fascism, appeasement, totalitarianism, dictatorship, aggression, militarism, and nationalism. Right. 7. And they spell out the word fat damn if you just take the initial letter from each of them. Fascism, appeasement, totalitarianism, dictatorship, aggression, militarism, nationalism. And they're all basically because the Treaty of Versailles sucked. Because the Treaty of Versailles didn't do what it was needed to do to stop the next war. Now, at some level, you could always argue, yeah, obviously, Woodrow Wilson was right. Follow his 14 points and deal with these problems of nationalism and militarism and disarm everybody, and you're not going to have the next war. At another level, Woodrow Wilson was being remarkably idealistic. There's no way the things he wanted to go into that treaty were going to happen, because the people of the countries who were signing the treaties wouldn't have let it happen. They were democracies, and those people negotiating the treaty had to get reelected. David Lloyd George couldn't go back to England and say, I signed a treaty that ended World War I. Well, they called it the Great War, that ended the war, and we didn't get anything. He couldn't do that. And so the Treaty of Versailles is the best they could come up with, but it was a terrible treaty. And many historians think of World War I and World War II as really in many ways being the same war. They're all part and parcel of working out the mess that was Europe at the time. But it's not just Europe. It's the whole world. And World War II in particular shows how it really is the whole world. Those are the underlying causes of World War II. Fat damn. And I'm signing off for the day. I hope that most of you can get this. If not, I will see you tomorrow at a Zoom meeting.